Hey guys, and in this video, we're going to talk about one tip for every brawler. Let's get started with the starter rarity, which you have one brawler, Shelly, and the tip for her is use bushes near choke points and only shoot when enemies are close range because more of your bullets will hit, and that also means you can charge your super faster and get the kill. Now for the rare brawlers. For Colt, we have stand at an angle where a wall cuts off part of your spread so more bullets can line up. That means you should walk diagonal and with the movement of the enemy. At number 3, we have Bull. This is one of the brawlers we have to sit in bushes right beside a popular lane and wait until enemies are on top of you, are very close, so that all your bullets can hit and you can mostly two-shot most brawlers. At number 4, we have Brock, and his super is very overpowered because it can remove enemy walls and can clear objectives early. You should abuse this to control the lane. At number 5, we have Barley. Throw the bottle slightly behind the enemies so they have to walk through the full damage zone instead of just being in it for 1 second, and that will deal twice the damage. At number 6, we have Nita. You should drop her bear directly on top of enemies behind walls so that they are forced to leave and you can peek in and finish them. El Primo. For El Primo, you should use your super to land behind ranged brawlers so they're forced to walk towards your team and get pinched by both ways. At number 8, we have Poco, which in 3v3 you should angle your shots so it hits your enemies. If you have the star power, also heal your teammates. That means you get the most out of your attacks. At number 9, we have Rosa, and you should activate her super before entering bushes where you know there are enemies to tank shots. Then use the extra vision and health gears to bully enemies out of the grass control and take over all the bushes. For the super rare brawlers, we have Rico, which you should aim shots at walls near enemies so they bounce onto them on unexpected angles so you stay completely out of the line of fire. Jessie, you should focus on hitting tanks or group enemies so your turret charges in just a few hits and your bullets can get the most out of hitting the most enemies. For Dynamite, you should throw your first shot where the enemy is and your second where they'll dodge. This two-step pattern catches good players and makes them cornered and have to either go in one shot or both. Daryl should roll through enemies, not just at them. That means you can land behind them and hit them with your close range shotgun. At 14, we have Penny, and you should place her mortar far back and slightly off to the side behind walls so enemies must come into your zone and you and your team will be able to pinch them down. Tick. You should always play Tick at max range and throw heads where enemies are already low so the super forces them to retreat or die. At number 16, we have Carl. You should use walls to instantly return your pickaxe. Stand close to a wall behind your target so your attack hits twice every quickly. That means if you see a wall and an enemy, you should make them position beside the wall so that you can hit them. At number 17, we have 8-Bit. You should drop your damage booster super in a safe corner that still covers the main fight area but is very hard to damage. That increases your pressure for your team. 18, we have Jackie. She should hug walls and corners so enemies have to walk into your short range, and with your star power, they will get instantly defeated. At 19, we have Gus. You should save his super for teammates who are about to dive in to kill enemies or are holding the objective, which makes them into temporary tanks. Now for the epic brawlers, you will start off with Bo. You want to place his mines at choke points on the map, like goal lines or gem dispenser, so enemies trigger them without even realizing that they are there. Then we have Frank. Don't waste his super on one target unless it's the last one in knockout. Until at least 2 enemies line up near the objective, then stun and auto aim for the team wipe. At number 22, we have Piper. You should always keep distance from the enemies and try to avoid bushes so you have an open map to hit them. At number 22, we have Pam. You should drop your healing turret, which is a super, slightly behind cover in the main area so your team can constantly dip in to heal themselves and go back into the fight. Next up at number 24 is BB. You should keep your home run bar charged and use the knockback to deny tanks or clear enemies away from your goal or the safe. This is very good paired with the healing gadget. At number 25, we have B. You should secure your first hit from max range behind cover, then use the charge shot, which has more than times 2 damage, to delete squishy or heavily chunked tanks. 26. M's. You should walk backwards while spraying so enemies stay in the outer edge of your cone and walk into the attack. That maximizes the damage over time, and with your gadget can keep them slowed down. At number 27, we have Gale. You should use his super to push enemies off the objective or into walls, not just away. Wall stuns often secure instant kills. At number 28, we have Nanny. You should use manual control on your super to steer behind walls and explode directly on top of high value backliners, so the ones who stay at their base to protect the goal. At number 29, we have Colette. You should time her super to pass through tanks twice, so in and out, shredding a huge percentage of the max HP and lets you finish them off. At number 30, we have Edgar. You should poke safely from bushes to charge super, then only jump onto isolated or low ammo enemies, never on full health tanks. At number 31, we have Stu. You should always keep at least one dash charge ready, which means this super, and use the first one to engage, and then attack to get a second one to dodge or escape. At number 32, we have Belle. You should mark the highest HP brawler, usually a tank or the gem carrier, so your whole team benefits from the extra damage focus. At number 33, we have Grom. Throw shots slightly behind enemies, hugging walls so the explosion radius clips them even if they try to sidestep. At number 34, we have Griff. You should try to hit enemies with all 3 coin waves at close range so you get the most out of your shots. This will give full burst damage. At number 5, we have Ash. You should let your rage build by tanking chip damage behind cover, then push when your bar is high so your swing speed overwhelms enemies. At number 36, we have Lola. You should place your Eagle clone behind the wall or slightly offset from you so enemies can't hit both of you guys at the same time. At number 37, we have Bonnie. You should stay in long range Bonnie form to safely charge the super and only dive when you're sure you can secure the kill because they're low health and it's possible to escape. Now for Sam. After throwing your knuckles, immediately path toward them so you can pick them back up and regain your boosted damage quickly and a little speed boost. At number 39, we have Mandy. She only stands still to charge your long range shots when you're behind cover or in bushes so that they cannot hit you. Otherwise, keep moving and use shorter shots. At number 40, we have Maisie. Pre-charge your knockback shot before peeking corners so you can instantly push back divers or interrupt supers. At number 41, we have Hank. Don't overcharge every bubble. Release medium charge shots more frequently to keep constant pressure and zone enemies. At number 42, we have Pearl. She should manage your heat by firing in controlled bursts, going into big fights with high but not max heat so you don't overheat mid-engagement. At 43, we have Larry and Lori. Use Lori as a front line to show shots while you, Larry, flank from the back in bushes. That forces enemies to split their focus. At number 44, we have Angela. You should charge your arrow from behind walls and release when enemies commit to a direction by pre-aiming your shots in front of them, punishing predictable movement. At number 45, we have Barry. Stay near teammates to maximize your supportive value, using your kit to peel for them instead of taking solo duels. That means healing. At number 46, we have Shade. You should use shadows to confuse enemies, position clothes or effects so they misread your real location during fights. At number 47, we have Meeple. Control tight spaces and choke points, forcing enemies into your preferred engagement zone where your kit is strongest. At number 48, we have Trunk. Place your utility or control tools on key tiles, like lanes or objectives, to force enemies into bad paths or bad shots and delays. Now, for the Mythic Brawlers, we have Mortis, who you should only dash into enemies when you have at least 2 ammo bars, so you can combo dash attack, use your gadget, maybe your super, and escape safely. At number 50, we have Tara. You should wait for enemies to group up near an objective, then pull them with your super, and use your attacks to burst their health. At number 51, we have G. You should save your pull for isolated high-value targets, like carriers, and coordinate with your team before using it. At number 2, we have Mr. P. You should place your porter station behind a wall or in a bush, so it's very hard to spot. At number 53, we have Max. You should use your super to start coordinated team pushes, not to escape. Ping it and move together to overwhelm enemies and pinch them down. At number 54, we have Sprout. You should block choke points with your super wall to cut off enemy rotations or trap them in kill zones. At number 55, you have Blue. You should freeze areas around an objective with your super, then force enemies to walk through it if they want to contest. At number 56, we have Byron. You should wave heals and damage, heal frontliners as they push while tagging enemies in the backline to keep them low. At number 57, we have Rex. Drop your super where teammates can safely pick up the power up, prioritizing tanks or carriers to have an advantage in fights. At number 58, we have Squeak. Stick shots to walls or enemies near cover so that the delayed explosion hits them even if they try to hide. At number 59, we have Buzz. You should hide in bushes near enemies and only super when your stun radius indicator guarantees a hit on a priority target. At number 60, we have Fang. You should use your super when enemies are lined up or grouped up so you can chain kicks between multiple targets. Eve. Abuse water and long range. Flow over gaps and poke from angles most brawlers can't reach. At number 62, we have Janet. Use your super to reposition over walls and land behind enemies, not just to deal chip damage from the air. At number 63, we have Otis. You should use him to silence enemies right before they use their super or gadgets so that they cannot proceed with their play. At number 64, we have Buster. You should activate his shield for team pushes so you can block key projectiles and escort them safely. At number 65, we have Gray. You should place portals in a safe backline spot and aggressive forward spots, giving your team instant rotate options. At number 66, we have RT. You should leave your body in a safe place and extend your legs aggressively to poke and control space without risking your core and getting eliminated. At number 67, we have Willow. You should possess tanks or high damage enemies when they're near your team so they shred their own front line. At number 68, we have Doug. You should use your super on teammates to revive who are about to die or are holding key objectives, turning lost fights around. At number 69, we have Chuck. Set up multiple stations in a triangle so you can rapidly reposition between lanes and surprise enemies. At number 70, we have Charlie. You should use her web to trap enemies near walls or objectives, then close the distance while they're stuck. At number 71, we have Miko. You should change jumps to stay mobile during fights, using your mobility to dodge big abilities instead of just engaging in the fight. At number 72, we have Melody. You should keep your rhythm stacked up, constantly poking. Only fully commit when you have multiple notes orbiting you. At number 73, we have Lily. You should use bushes and surprise angles to start fights on your terms, taking advantage of a burst before enemies react. At number 74, we have Clancy. You should use his super when you are in the brawler so that you can take over the fight. At 75, we have Mo. You should control space with his super and his attack because it can spread the enemies apart. Then, proceed by chasing kills with your team. At number 76, we have Juju. Time your control to interrupt enemy supers or gadgets, turning their big plays into wasted cooldowns. At number 77, we have Ollie. Use movement and positioning to constantly harass from angles where enemies can't easily retaliate. 78. Lumi. Play around vision and information, scalp bushes and reveal enemies so your team can safely push. At number 79, we have Finks. You should punish overextensions, wait for enemies to step too far up, then use your burst or control to lock them down. At number 80, we have Jaeyoung. Use your range and angles to pressure multiple enemies at once, forcing them to spread out and lose formation. At number 81, we have Ali. Stick close to teammates and amplify their plays rather than taking solo fights. Your value comes from synergy and not straight attack. At number 82, we have Mina. Set up traps or effects in advance on unlikely enemy path, punishing predictable rotations. At number 83, we have Ziggy. Use erratic movement and zoning tools to make it hard for enemies to aim while you chip them down. At number 84, we have G. Time your abilities to protect teammates at critical moments, like when they're carrying gems or the ball. At number 85, we have Glober, or now named Glowy. Use your area control to light up zone enemies don't want to stand it, shaping the entire fight around your presence. At number 86, which is the last mythic, we have Nausea. You should capitalize on her newest Brawler's surprise factor, play unpredictable angles, and learn her limits by taking controlled risk. For the legendaries, we have number 87, which is Spike, and you should curve your shots around walls and into choke points so enemies get hit even where they think they're safe. For Crow, you should tag as many enemies as possible to keep them poisoned so they can't heal, and it's easier for your team to finish. At number 89, we have Leon. You should use your super to flank wide and come from behind, not straight from the front. Aim to delete backliners instantly to create pressure. At number 90, we have Sandy. You should drop your Sandstorm to start fights, giving your team invisibility and control over where and when to engage. At 91, we have Surge. Use your first super just to level up safely. Don't waste it on risky dives before you get your movement upgrade. At number 92, we have Amber. Feather your fire button to control fuel and keep a constant flame zone instead of emptying your tank in one spray. At 93, we have Meg. Only transform into mech when you're at a safe distance and your team is ready to push so you don't lose the mech instantly. At number 94, we have Chester. Adapt your playstyle to the super you roll. Don't force fights when you have a weak super. Wait for a strong one. At number 95, we have Cordelius. Use your super to isolate key enemies into the Shadow Realm, taking 1v1s you know you can win. At number 96, we have Kids. Stay attached to strong frontliners, healing and buffing them while they tank and you avoid direct focus. At number 97, we have Draco. You should hit his attacks at the end so that you can get the bonus Pierce. At number 98, we have Kenji. You should use your mobility to constantly reposition and punish enemies who overextend or ignore your lane. And number 99, we have Pierce. You should line up shots to pierce through multiple enemies, maximizing value by hitting stacked targets in tight lanes. At number 100, we have Kasi, which is in the Ultra Legendary category. Abuse her high skill ceiling by weaving in and out of range. Poke safely, then commit only when you see a guaranteed kill. And the last one is number 101, Sirius. He uses unique mechanics to control tempo, slow fights down when your cooldowns are missing, and speed them up when you're ready to take the kill and win the fight. Bonus Brawler, we have Buzz Lightyear. You should stay at mid-range to consistently charge your laser, then use your mobility ability to quickly reposition onto low health or isolated targets and finish them off before they can escape. If you do not see this brawler, it's because he was temporary. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and you should come check out my new Discord server in the description. Have a nice day.